Welcome to the Vegas Insider channel here on YouTube. Kevin Rogers with you as we take a look at Saturday's action inside of college football. We'll focus on three of the biggest matchups: Alabama and Miami playing in Atlanta, Georgia and Clemson hooking up in Charlotte, and LSU traveling out to Los Angeles to take on UCLA at the Rose Bowl. And let us break down these three matchups with Brian Edwards, who is joining us once again this season to look at the Saturday college card. And Brian, let's begin in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The defending champion Alabama Crimson Tide, nearly a 3-touchdown favorite now against upstart Miami. Your thoughts on the Crimson Tide and the Hurricanes?
Well, I got a little bit of Alabama minus 17 early in the summer, and I came back yesterday with a little bit of Miami plus 19.5. Not nearly as much, but it's not a big bet for me. For what the lines are now with it at 19.5, I think that's a little too much, especially when I've already got money at 17. But Alabama in the first half has been gold for several years now. The only line I've seen for first half is minus 10. So I'm going to take that. There are no first quarter lines, but I'm sure Alabama is going to, as long as they're, 6.5 or fewer, I'll probably consider a little bit of Alabama in the first quarter. Although with De'Aaron King, I certainly think Miami can score a touchdown in the first quarter, and that would maybe put Alabama on the hook for having, 2 touchdowns. And so I prefer the first half. Last year, Alabama went 11-2 against the spread in the first half. The only non-covers were Ole Miss and Georgia. Now I don't, there's no Devontae Smith, there's no Jalen Waddle, there's no Mac Jones. And, we haven't seen much of Bryce Young, but he's a 5-star. He looks very kind of Jalen Hurts, fast and quick in the spring game, at least what I saw. And he's, it's just, it is just a wash, rinse, repeat deal with Saban. Like Mechie is going to be a terrific receiver for them, like what Devontae and Waddle have been the last few years. And they're just loaded with 5-stars everywhere. And I'm not a big fan of Manny Diaz. I mean, I do think Miami's got plenty of talent, but I think Alabama minus 10 in the first half is probably the best way to go.
Another SEC ACC matchup coming up Saturday night at a neutral site in Charlotte. It's Georgia and Clemson meeting up. Of course, Clemson now a new quarterback with Trevor Lawrence gone, and the Tigers a short favorite against Kirby Smart's Bulldogs.
Yeah, I like Clemson minus 3. I'm not drinking the JT Daniels Kool-Aid. He's pretty good, but he's not great. He went 4-7 as a starter at USC, 15-11 TDI-INT ratio. Then he plays 4 games and puts up really good numbers for Georgia last year, 10-2 TDI-INT ratio. But he was doing it against, the first game was Mississippi State because of COVID and opt-outs. They only brought 43 scholarship players to Athens. They were a 25-point underdog. It was a tie game with 10 minutes left. Georgia ends up winning by 7. Then they go to South Carolina. JT Daniels puts up huge numbers. Muschamp had already been fired. J.C. Horn, who went 10th in the first round, he'd already opted out. Israel Mukuamu, who had intercepted Jake Fromm 3 times the year before and was a 6th-round pick, he had opted out. And South Carolina sucked last year, so they smash him. He puts up big numbers. Missouri had some COVID absences late in the year, puts up big numbers at Missouri. They weren't very good defensively anyway. And then they win 24-21 against Cincinnati. So I just don't think JT Daniels has faced tough defenses. And Georgia's got injury issues right now. Dominic Blaylock is out this week. He was one of their better receivers in 2019. Tore his ACL last year. George Pickens is out, tore his ACL. He's our star wide receiver, tore his ACL in the spring. The much-touted tight end, 5-star Eric Gilbert from LSU. He's left the team for personal reasons. He's out. Their other tight end, Darnell Washington, had a promising freshman year. He's out. Tyke Smith, their DB, he's out. Jermaine Burton has missed some time. He got back into practice last week. He's going to play, but, he's missed a lot of practice, might not be quite 100% with an ankle. So all these, issues lead me to Clemson minus 3. And Georgia did lose 30 lettermen, which is a high number this year with the, the COVID seniors be able to have an extra year. And they lost 6 starters on defense. So I think Clemson is the play as long as you're -3, and most all books are -3. I think even FanDuel is down to 2.5.
And the final game we'll look at, Brian, out west, it's LSU and UCLA. Of course, LSU's got to deal with its own issues after Hurricane Ida hit Baton Rouge, and LSU left town before that, and now they're going out to the Rose Bowl as a short favorite. UCLA already one game under their belts. They blew out Hawaii last week, so now the Bruins flipped to a home underdog here.
Yes, so earlier this summer when it was 4.5, before Miles Brennan got hurt, before Glenn Logan got hurt, before they had to leave Baton Rouge on Sunday for a normally 4-hour bus ride to Houston to set up camp there for the week, and they're going to fly to LA from Houston on Thursday, but that bus trip on Sunday took 10 hours. So before those three things, Brennan's injury, a 10-hour bus ride Sunday, and Logan's injury, I absolutely loved LSU at 4.5. Thought, they were going to win by double digits, not a problem. And I still like them a lot. And the number has moved to 3, which I like a lot better than 4.5. But Glenn Logan is a stud, has mostly started his first 3 years at LSU at defensive tackle. He's out. I was okay whether it was going to be Max Johnson or Miles Brennan. I mean, Max Johnson, 2 starts. They were a 3-5 team, and then he makes his first 2 starts. They had a lot of opt-outs. Terrace Marshall was gone. Stingley was hurt. Max Johnson leads them to a win at Florida, 37-34, and outduels Matt Corral and Ole Miss for a 53-48 win. So I was fine with Max Johnson if he won the job, or Brennan. And so that's the Brennan injury is a non-factor here as it relates to this game, as long as Johnson doesn't get hurt. In terms of LSU projecting for the season, if Johnson gets hurt, it's a catastrophe. I mean, maybe Brennan will be back in November. We'll see. Logan might be back in November. But as long as it's -3, I still like LSU a lot here. They are immensely talented. Outside of Alabama, nobody's recruited better than LSU. They've definitely been on par with Oklahoma and Ohio State the last few years. And they played a lot of young guys last year, got valuable experience. And look, UCLA spanked Hawaii, but they're still 11-21 straight up, 15-17 against the spread under Chip Kelly, and 13 of those 21 losses have been by 9 or more. I still think LSU wins by a touchdown, and maybe still wins by double digits, like I was saying, all through the summer. So yeah, the travel is kind of a pain in the ass, but I think that partly has to do with the line getting down to 3 as well. So go Tigers.
So for Brian's 3 best bets in week 1, he's going to take Alabama in the first half against Miami. Also, he's going to lay the points with Clemson against Georgia, and he's going to lay the short number with LSU against UCLA. Brian, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, K-Raj.
And there is Brian Edwards. I am Kevin Rogers. Of course, you can check out all of our best bets at our Vegas Insider YouTube channel. We'll talk to you again next week right here at VegasInsider.com.